Few seconds early, I guess, but welcome back to the Green Beret Life. This is the SCIF. I am Matt. As you can see, I am here by myself. Stu is not here. He might show up tonight. He had a prior commitment that he needed to deal with, and if we get him, we'll pull him on the show. If not, we got plenty to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about three things. I'm going to try to hit three things tonight. Obviously, everything that is taking up what's going on in the space today is Iran and what's going on in Iran. I'm going to give you my thoughts on Iran. I'm also going to give you a bunch of the pushback that the administration is getting. One of the things that I always wonder when I look at this is these individuals, some that are supposedly on our side. What was the alternative? Was the alternative to allow Iran to do whatever the hell it wanted? To allow China to enable Iran to interfere with the Middle East, the United States, the global price of oil, nuclear proliferation, where we were supposed to just allow that to happen? Another thing I really want to talk about is a lot of people are throwing the no new wars into Trump's face, and the left really wants you to think, and also the establishment right really wants you to think that this is going to be Iraq 2.0. They really want you to think this. Don't fall for the propaganda. We've already killed Khomeini already. They've already tried to put together another. We'll talk about that a little more, but Trump has been very, very consistent from the very beginning. He would never allow Iran to go nuclear. He wouldn't allow Iran to develop intercontinental ballistic missiles. And another thing that should piss you off as an American, especially if you're a veteran, is that the oil that comes from Iraq, I promise you, because these two nations, we put these two nations together that were traditional enemies, is being funneled to China. Anybody that uses common sense could see that is most likely the scenario, right? 90% of all Iranian oil goes right to China, right? They have vast, vast oil reserves. So I want to get into this a little bit. Now, obviously, we had the State of the Union speech last week. We didn't have a show because it was on. It made more sense not to do the show with the State of the Union being there, and I hope you guys got to see it because it was a brilliant performance by Donald Trump. I'm trying to make sure I'm in the chat and getting chats here, so I'm trying to watch this. I don't have the setup that Stu does, so I'm trying to make sure that I get your comments. But anyways, the State of the Union was brilliant, made the Democrats look basically what they are. But I want to get into that a little bit, and then I want to get into, I don't know if a lot of you guys are following this because it's not being really covered here in the mainstream news anyways. There was a recent fatwa put out against dogs, basically in Western countries, and now there's a push to eliminate dogs from public areas. Obviously, Muslims hate dogs. Never trust anybody that hates dogs, by the way. Never, ever, ever trust anybody that hates dogs, okay? But we're going to get into this Muslim hate of dogs and a possible reason behind it. This might be a little controversial, but we're gonna read it. I pulled a few articles up. I saw this. I'm simply reading what's out there that's been written, okay, as a possible, and I've seen this a couple times, as a possible basis for where this started, okay? But that being said, a lot of Western European countries, and obviously this is never going to fly here in the United States. We even had a congressman say it's an easy it's an easy decision. If you're going to make us choose between dogs or Muslims, then you can go back home. We're not getting rid of our dogs. But the British government apparently is starting to put out some, maybe don't walk your dogs in public or Muslim areas. And so people of these countries are going to have to capitulate for the third worlders they imported who want to change their country and will not assimilate into their values and their norms and their basically European way of life. Well, people are getting pissed off about it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit too, but I want to jump right into what's going on right now in Iran. And I think it behooves me to start, with that consistency I said before. Trump has made no secret about Iran and what he would do. He would not allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon. He would not allow Iran to develop intercontinental ballistic missiles, which they continue to try to do. Our greatest enemy in the world, make no mistake about it, is China, right? And we may have destroyed Iran's capability for producing nuclear material. That didn't stop them from pursuing other things like intercontinental ballistic missiles. You could put dirty bombs on those things if you could hit the United States, right? And it didn't. You have to wonder. 90% of the oil there is going to China. China, are they pulling strings to help Iran get a nuclear weapon? Right? You have to wonder these things, right? Behind the scenes, there's information we're not privy to, but we always talk about blue collar logic here. And if you're going to use blue collar logic, you're going to think about these things, right? So if you simply look at it as Iran on its own, I think you're making a mistake. I think you have to look at Venezuela and Iran. Venezuela, there were two additional things about Venezuela that I think it's in our hemisphere, right? And the Trump administration is trying to get China out of our hemisphere, which they've completely taken over Africa. They were very entrenched in South America, right? And China, one of the things they don't have is oil. So these two oil-rich countries, Venezuela, Iran, are propping up a bunch of very, very problematic countries that Cuba comes to mind, right? That are not working for the betterment of mankind or keeping harmony and peace in the world. No, they have a different agenda on their mind, right? So you can't, I think with this whole thing with Iran, you cannot take China out of the picture, because what we have basically done is we have pinched China. If China can't get oil, China's already in trouble. How are they going to attack Taiwan? Just think about that. If they don't have oil, how are they going to attack Taiwan? So whoever controls that oil, that's a big bartering chip. Now, the United States is one of the largest oil producers in the world, right? And obviously, Iran is a major oil producer. Some people have said they have the second largest oil reserves in the world. This is thrown about with many, many countries. I don't really know. I can tell you that they have massive amounts of oil. I do know the oil in Iran tends to be through rock. It's a little more expensive to get, but they also have massive natural gas deposits too, which are extremely important. Russia is a huge oil producer. We all know, huge natural gas producer. United States, the OPEC countries, obviously in the Middle East. Venezuela is a massive oil producer. But what we've done is we've taken China's oil supply and now it's in our control. And another thing that was done that nobody's really talking about between Venezuela and Iran, their defense systems were primarily the latest and greatest from both China and Russia. And we went right through those like a hot knife through butter. Went right through them. That's a statement right there. So if you already can extrapolate, I'm for this because I don't think there was any other option. Do I like wars? I don't like wars. Do I think most of the wars we've been involved with over the last 30, 40 years have been bullshit? Yeah, I think most of those wars have been complete bullshit. I don't like the fact that the defense industry makes so much money off of these wars. I don't like the fact that we go and lose American after American after American after American. And we look back at these wars and say, what was the United States benefit in that war? What were we there for? We can't answer those questions. Donald Trump is not like these leaders of the past. He's not like them at all. Everything he does is for the benefit of the United States. So I have a little bit of an issue. It's a very fair question to ask. Why are we going to war? But I have a bit of an issue with the Candace Owens. First of all, if you're listening to Candace Owens, after this last year of nonsense that's come from her, if you're listening to anything from Candace Owens, you need to have your head examined, first of all. There's something very, very wrong there. There's some mental illness. There's something. I used to be a fan of hers. This past year and this whole deal with Charlie Kirk and Charlie Kirk's wife, and she's gone off the deep end, absolutely off the deep end. And you can't help but wonder the family she married into. She married into one of the wealthiest families in Great Britain. Okay. So take with that information what you will. But Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Matt Walsh, right, who I've never been a huge fan of to begin with, and Megyn Kelly. I think Megyn Kelly, the only person that I look at out of that group that's really legitimate, I think, is Tucker Carlson. Okay. And I know he's done a lot of goofy stuff here lately. I don't necessarily agree with Tucker, but I think Tucker is coming from the right place. I think he thinks he's coming from the right place. I think Megyn Kelly goes for clicks, right? I think she goes for clicks. Remember, she's the one that went over to NBC and the whole 9 yards, was originally an anti-Trump, and now she like jumps on the Trump train and she thinks it helps her, and now she's pretending like, oh, we shouldn't be over involved in this. What is the alternative? Okay. Matt Walsh, never a fan of this guy in the first place, so I don't give a shit what he has to say. He's contradicted himself on this already. Okay, because last summer he was saying if the Iranians attempted to kill our president, we should kill everybody in the regime. And now it's something different. Weird. But hopefully this war will be wrapped up quickly. But what really bothers me with the whole thing is, and I know I expect it but the Democrats and the leftist media and even some of the people on our side, okay, the libertarian crowd, right, seems like they're doing everything possible to make sure that this doesn't end in a very, very good way for the United States and quickly. They're trying to scare the shit out of everybody. They're trying to make everybody think that this is going to be Iraq 2.0, right? If anybody doesn't want an Iraq 2.0, it's me. But this isn't the case. The way they've hit Iran, and we're not going to go in there for nation building afterwards either. We're not going to do it. Hopefully the people of Iran stand up and it's a Western-friendly government like they used to have. Hopefully. But this regime had to go. And it took a leader with balls that knew he was going to get pushback to do it. And we're going to realize 6 months down the road, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, 50 years down the road, this was a very, very, very important, in a positive way, development for the United States. So let's get into some of the other things that have come up here that are unique. Nobody seems to be talking about this either. You've got Israelis for the first time working with Qataris, working with Saudis for getting rid of this regime. And there is possible talk of Kurds being the voice of reason in Iran right now, right? You've heard me talk about Kurds in the past in a positive way as being one of the few people that you could work with over there. But as soon as this attack happened, Iran started launching missiles and drone attacks against other countries in the Middle East. Now, obviously, Iran is a Shia country, and these other countries are Sunni countries. They hate each other right off the bat. But Iran started launching missiles and drones at civilian targets in all of these countries. They hit targets in Qatar. They hit targets in other countries as well. We've lost several Americans. I'm going to talk about those. So far, we can't forget Americans. We've had a few of our F-15 shot down by accident. That's a confusing chain of events there. I don't know what's going on with all of that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know what's going on with that. It just seems very odd to me. But I want to talk about all these things because I think the deep state and the crowd that's pushing back that I was talking about before, the Democrats, some of the people in our own party, libertarians, the worldwide deep state, the Iranian Navy has been completely destroyed. It's gone. It's gone. There is no Navy. It's gone. They do have some of these kamikaze drones, okay? But all of the insurers, like Lloyd's of London and all of this, are now refusing to insure vessels going through the Strait of Hormuz, okay? With all of those American ships there protecting them, okay? There is a chance of a drone attack, yes. But with all of those American, they're not insuring. So guess what? They're not moving oil through the Straits of Hormuz. They don't move oil through the Straits of Hormuz. Oil's not getting where it needs to be, so the supply is drying up, causing the demand to go through the roof, causing the price to go back up. Oil is the foundation of our economy. This is an easy attack for these deep staters, and this is me using blue-collar logic once again. Nobody else is making this jump. I'm making this jump, right? This is the deep state trying to hurt Donald Trump via hurting the worldwide economy, especially the United States economy. Okay, there's no reason that they shouldn't be insuring ships going through the Strait of Hormuz, especially since Iran has no Navy anymore. It's gone. It's on the bottom of the ocean, right? There are drone attacks. There's a chance you could get hit by a drone attack, right? But in response to that, the Trump administration is going to insure carriers through the United States to start moving oil back through the Straits of Hormuz. Okay, so we're working on an end run around that, but this is just one of many things that the Trump administration has to put up with. Our allies in NATO right now, the Brits aren't being real helpful, right? All the help we've given them on everything, including the Falkland Islands, right? And the Spanish, what disaster they have over there. They've got leadership over there that just made a bunch of illegal Muslim migrants from third world countries citizens over there, to the chagrin of the majority of the country's citizens, right? So this administration in Spain wouldn't allow us to use any of their bases in this. Now, they're a NATO ally. And mind you, they have been in arrears on their NATO payments for years. The United States has funded their defense, right? So this now more than anything makes things come to light. Who is with us and who isn't? So if you can't count on members of NATO to support us in this instance here, why should we support them if they ever come under fire? Why should we ever do this? Why do we pay for their defense. Why does the U.S. taxpayer pay for their defense when for many, many years they didn't pay for their own defense? Why should we do that? And then we get this type of behavior from them. So Trump is responding to that. He's cutting off all trade with Spain. This is amazing how this even happens. Why are we in NATO? Why are we in NATO? This highlights even more why we need Greenland. Highlights it even more. Remember, we were told we don't need Greenland because we have that protection from NATO and all of our NATO allies, and we don't have their protection. These people are actively working against us. We've been funding their deal for years. They take advantage of us with trade deals, bad trade deals. We've got some really weird shit going on here with our Supreme Court and making some decisions with Gorsuch, Roberts, and Amy Coney Barrett, who doesn't seem like she votes with conservatives on anything, by the way, that are basically saying the Trump administration, they're putting limits on the Trump administration's ability to levy tariffs, according to some obscure 1977 congressional law. There's something goofy with this whole thing that doesn't make sense. But you see all of these things piled up. The Trump administration still keeps winning. So Congress goes in for a intel brief today. They come out. Republicans are saying, holy smokes, we've made a lot of progress here in this last 4 days. And Democrats are all unified on a message, basically trying to get us to lose. That's what they're trying to do, to get us to lose over there, to try to draw us out. Right now, there is a moment in time that this horrible administration that came to power by kidnapping American citizens, right? So hold on, we've got Len that is joining the show here right now. I'm going to bring him in.
Hey, how's it going, Matt?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Look at you clicking buttons like a madman, like you know what's going on.
Like I know what the hell I'm doing. Holy smokes. I don't know if I know what I'm doing because I haven't seen anything in the chat so far. So I don't know if I'm monitoring the chat the right way.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the live chat at the moment.
We were talking about Iran, and I was making a couple points to start this all off. That Iran, Trump, first of all, who's getting a lot of blowback, has been very, very consistent on Iran. Trump said from the very beginning, we're not going to allow Iran to ever have a nuclear weapon, and we're not going to allow them to have intercontinental ballistic missiles. 90% of the world.
He was a huge critic of how Obama allowed Iran to pretty much do whatever they wanted with us saying, well, here's a line in the sand. Well, here's another line in the sand. Cross that line because I'll draw another line.
It was all designed. It was all designed to allow them to get a nuclear weapon. And they wanted Iran.
For what purpose?
The purpose was to have an element in the Middle East, okay, that could create chaos at the drop of a hat, right?
And that would be it.
To control the United States, to basically take our attention, our time, our money, the whole 9 yards. And this is China is the individual, the nation state that's right there. That is at the bottom and the base of this all. So we had destroyed their ability to create a nuclear weapon. China gets 90% of their oil, of all Iranian oil. So tell me there was no working back and forth to allow China to develop, or to allow Iran to develop these intercontinental ballistic missiles and get a nuclear weapon, right? Tell me that wasn't going on. Right now, this is brilliant because you hit Venezuela, which is where the other place where China was getting all their oil. And now you've hit Iran. We control all this oil now. And we've really put China in a bind. How are they going to attack Taiwan?
Well, and you've taken and cut the legs out from under and actually shown China's allies to be nothing but a paper tiger.
Well, and all of their equipment, all of their latest and greatest equipment that we went right through like a hot knife through butter. This is such a huge statement, but you're not hearing it from our mainstream media. You're hearing how this is going to be Iraq #2, and they really want you to believe that this is what's going on. And then we have some conservatives doing the same thing, saying the same thing. The Megyn Kellys. The only one I'm giving a pass to is Tucker Carlson, because I think Tucker Carlson has at least been consistent. But Megyn Kelly is for 100% for clicks. Matt Walsh, I've never liked him. And Candace Owens is got some mental illness going on with her. Over this last year, she's lost her frickin' mind.
Well, the thing is, all of these people, in the end, their livelihood is driven by viewership. And just like, a lot of them, the bigger they've gotten, the more they've really kind of morphed into the mainstream media of whatever it takes to get clicks. And whether they believe it or not, whatever, they're going to say what gets the clicks and what engages or fires up their audience. And, whether they have the people hate watching it or watching it because they believe in what they're saying, a view is a view. And I just think a lot of places, the point that they really don't care. They're going to say whatever it is to get that view and get that click.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And you've sort of been brought up to speed on what I was talking about. And I was doing it in a rambling way, but it was all going to be made into a whole common, thoughtful idea towards the end. But some of the things I did talk about, I think it's a deep state attack with Lloyd's of London and all the big insurance companies pulling insurance away from carriers carrying oil through the Straits of Hormuz, especially since the complete navy of Iran is now resting on the bottom of the ocean, right? The complete navy. The only threat is from drones, okay? With all of the American ships in the area that have been in the area for quite some time, this whole scheme of pulling insurance of oil carriers going through the Straits of Hormuz is designed to put pressure on the United States, our economy, and the worldwide economy. So what the Trump administration is doing is they are going to ensure through the U.S. government these carriers and keeping the oil flowing through the Straits of Hormuz. So this is one of many aspects. He not only has to fight Republicans in his own party, Democrats here on Always that are basically anti-American straight up, right? The deep state, the globalist deep state. You got Spain, okay, who we defend and who are in arrears of their own payments, not allowing us to use first of all, we should kick Spain out of NATO. They should be kicked out. If they don't kick them, then what are we doing in NATO? We should cut our costs and our expenditures in NATO down to half, right? We should do that right off the bat, okay? The British are being petulant as well with this whole thing. And we've just done the whole world a favor. Stu, tell me, what is the alternative of not doing what we did? What is the alternative?
Well, the thing, real quick, the thing about NATO, because you know as well as I do, if we were talking about cutting our funding to NATO, there would be all of the wailing and gnashing of teeth about how important NATO is and how it helps stabilize the world. It's like, okay, if it's that important, and honestly, NATO isn't stabilizing anything in the United States, it's stabilizing Europe. If it's that important, then you pay for it. It's your area that it's stabilizing. You pay for it. Like you said, Spain is in arrears, hasn't paid anything. And hell, before Trump's first term, there were how many dozens of countries that were paying a fraction of what, just a pittance of what they were supposed to be contributing
that
towards
was
NATO.
The basis for me saying that Spain was in arrears. The whole deal with Spain is we get into a conflict and they're saying we're not going to help you. Well, that's the whole idea behind NATO. Why should we support them or help them if they ever got into conflict? Western Europe is almost gone, dude. With the exception of a few countries, Great Britain is gone. It's gone. You can kiss its ass goodbye. Germany is well on its way, right? Sweden, the Netherlands. I mean, you ought to look at some of these countries and what they've done. They have just flooded. France is gone. It's gone. There's no coming back for France or Great Britain. I'm sorry. I hate to say this.
I don't think there is either. They have been occupied.
Yeah. And
they invited it. They opened the doors for the occupiers in the name of equity and anti-racism and whatever. They slit their own throats.
Well, it really was the deep state that organized this with the goal of destroying these countries, destroying their cultures, breaking down their people, taking their wealth. Yeah.
Well, the citizenry had been voting against it for years, and just like our government, it doesn't matter what the citizens want; it matters what the lobbyists and the big corporations want. And that for years they've been voting against immigration, and Great Britain did the Brexit, and trying to get out, and the people voted for it. Then the institutions were dragging their feet on implementing it because that wasn't what they wanted.
That's exactly right. And they're still doing that. They're out, but they might as well be in because they're following everything that the European Union wanted them to do, destroy their countries. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So something is interesting, right? I started getting on this point. Right now, the Israelis are working with the Qataris and the Saudis and taking down, because the Qataris are actively bombing Iran. Saudis getting into it right now. And obviously the Israelis. Did you hear they hacked all of their cameras on their traffic lights so they could see who was going through, so they could identify the leadership and who was going through these traffic lights? And they'd had that for years. Did you know this?
Well, I saw where there had been a lot of stuff in place for a long time, like as far as the cyber and the hacking and everything, that there had been stuff in place for a while.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's one of these things that that right now, we had an attack in Austin by an individual that we let into this country from Senegal, right? Who overstayed his visa. Then he married a woman and got his citizenship, divorced her, brought in 2 other women from the third world, married them and got them their citizenship. This is not how our immigration system is supposed to work. He walks into a nightclub, in Austin, and he kills 3 people and wounds a shitload more, wearing a t-shirt or a sweatshirt that says "Property of Allah," and then his shirt that he had underneath that was an Iranian flag shirt, right? So we let this piece of shit in our country. Not only would we leave this piece of shit in our country, we allowed him to get citizenship after he overstayed his visa, and then bring 2 more people from overseas into this country via some sham marriage. And he ends up going in.
Be interesting, Matt?
3 innocent people.
You know what would be interesting is, and I know it'll probably never come up. Well, it might. Is if there's any reporting on what has he done since he's gotten his citizenship? What has his productivity been towards the better? Just discounting what he just did up until that point, from the time he overstayed his visa and to the time this nightclub shooting took place. What was his overall contribution to the country and its betterment and enrichment?
That would be really interesting. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he collected welfare. He overstayed his visa.
Easy.
Yeah, that's going to be my guess.
Like that.
If we're playing, guess how he spent his life here as a new American. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he collected welfare. He got housing. He got all sorts of benefits that American citizens don't get, and he still went and did this to us. So why are we importing shit like this into our country? Why? And then we get to sit Did you see Tom Tillis going off on Kristi Noem over Minneapolis today?
No, I saw where she was in Congress, but I didn't see any of the hearing.
Tom Tillis, who is a deep state rhino Republican to the nth degree, who made a decision that he's not going to run for the Senate again because he wasn't going to get reelected, is doing everything he can to disrupt Trump's agenda. Everything. Now he's demanding Kristi Noem resign because of what went down up in Minneapolis.
What was it that went down? Someone tried to run over a federal agent and was reduced to room temperature. Someone was fighting with cops while armed and was reduced to room temperature. What exactly is it that he's upset about, that the officer didn't stand there and let himself be run over?
So Tom Tillis joined Cory Booker and a whole slew of other Democrats in screaming at Kristi Noem when they brought her in. This is insane. It's absolutely insane. Tom Tillis is the biggest piece of shit you can possibly. Tom Tillis is the one who got rid of Madison Cawthorn because he was highlighting those goofy ass parties that were going on within Congress. Yeah. He's the one who ran Madison Cawthorn, and Madison Cawthorn was replaced by a Democrat.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, again, Matt, it's one big club and you ain't in it. There's no difference.
Yeah, exactly.
You got 90% of the Republicans and the Democrats. There's no difference. They're all up there to do the exact same thing. They could not give a shit about you or I or the job we send them there to do. Correct. Because all they do is abdicate every decision that has to be made to a lobbyist, to another agency. Because as soon as they have to make a decision, as soon as they have to vote on something, then they have to answer for it and be responsible for it. That's why there won't be an up or down budget. It's all this omnibus bill, because then it can be, oh, well, I was doing it because it got this for my state or that. Never mind the fact that we're sending money to freaking Iraq for Sesame Street. You know, it's just, They do nothing. They do not care. It is all about the next election, and they will do whatever it takes for it.
Yeah, shit. So this is what's going on with Iran right now. Hopefully, this will be over quickly. I hate that it has had to come here, but. This administration, this Iranian regime needed to go. Period. Amen. So this cannot be dragged out.
There must have been something in the meetings that were taking place between the envoys about everything. There must have been something, because they're like, oh, they're going to meet back up. They're going to meet back up. And all of a sudden it's like, boom, strikes.
Well, we offered them nuclear fuel forever, free nuclear fuel forever. If they wanted nuclear for their we offered that. They turned it down. They weren't interested in any of that.
Right. So there was something that happened that made the administration be like, they're not negotiating in good faith. They're dragging things out. This is what their end goal is, and we're going to allow it to happen.
My guess, a lot of this was being manipulated by China. A lot of it was, and right now we've got China in a bad position. But believe me, people within our country are going to do whatever they can to make this a losing proposition for the United States. And So
well, you've got, and you just have the people that they would rather burn the country to the ground than see it be successful under the opposition party.
Well,
the Democrats would rather burn the country to the ground than for Trump to be successful with anything.
The perfect example is we talked about this nightclub shooting with this Senegalese individual who should have never been in this country in the first place, right? And the Dems have defunded Homeland Security, right? They've defunded Homeland Security over getting rid of illegals, which is what Trump got elected on, getting rid of illegals, right? And now
what about
we're at more risk, and they don't give a shit. They're going to get up there and yell.
The State of the Union? What about the State of the Union, where Trump was like, "Can you stand if you believe the purpose of the United States government is to look out for the United States citizen over the illegal immigrant?" And the Democrats wouldn't stand.
They stood for illegal immigrants, and they sat for U.S. citizens. That's one of the points I had made. I'm glad you brought that up. So now we have 3 dead Americans in Austin over that. Now we have 6 total soldiers. We have 4 of them that we have names of. I do want to mention the soldiers that were killed. We had a Captain Cody Cork from Winter Haven, Florida, who was hit in one of these Iranian attacks, I believe, in Kuwait. Okay. We had Sergeant First Class Noah Tienes. I can't get the pronunciation perfect here. He's from Bellevue, Nebraska. These guys are patriots all. Sergeant First Class Nicole Amore from White Bear Lake, Minnesota. That's very, very close to home for me. And we had Specialist Declan Cody, and he was from West Des Moines, Iowa. These are the 4 names that have been out of the 6 that we've been given that were killed in that initial barrage on Kuwait by Iran. And boy, I hope we get every member of that regime, every last member. I know they got together to vote on who was going to be the new Ayatollah, and we got all of them at the same time too. The Israelis did. But so can't
I love how I was watching one of the I caught the news briefly, and they were talking about how Iran must just have everything so coordinated because, we've taken out the top 40 people and, they're still fighting. It's like, that's what a military does. That has nothing to do with who's in charge of the government. The military has its chain of command, and they're going to, do whatever their last order was to do until something else changes. And if it's to fight, I'm sure they've had these targets selected for years, knowing that the shoe's going to drop. But it's like, why would you take and stir up Saudi and Kuwait and all these others unless it's the Shia Sunni thing, but
well, here's the bottom line. The regime is done. Their defensive capability is gone. The only thing they have are drones at this stage. That they've got a few rockets left, but they're diminishing as we speak. And they've got drones. At the same time, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis they're all done for because all of their funding comes from Iran. All of it. Right? There's a lot of dead Americans, which I think a lot of people forget. The bombings of the Marine barracks in Lebanon, all of the Americans killed by these EFPs in Iraq that were directly from Iran.
Wasn't it Khobar Towers as well?
Khobar Towers. You can trace a lot of this stuff all back to Iran. They were by far the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world for the last damn near 50 years. Okay. And they kidnapped a shitload of Americans when they came into power. And what people don't know is Iran before that was a beautiful country.
Oh yeah, we pulled up pictures here of Iran in the 70s, and you would think it was
the United States,
Los Angeles.
Yes.
I mean,
it
was women dressed
in bathing suits, having fun. Yeah, I mean that. It's a very educated population. It was a very westernized type area, and until the regime took over and destroyed everything. So the thing is that a lot of the media here has been caught because there's a lot of Iranians living in Los Angeles. The massive amount of support for the Trump administration from the Iranians in Iran and here in the United States and in other parts of the world.
But you won't see that. They'll downplay that as best they can.
They tried. They thought they were going to get a win, and they broadcast it, and we're like, holy shit. So yeah, so it's one of these things that this is all going to be a good. We're going to find out this was a good decision. This can't get dragged on. This cannot get dragged on. This has to be finished here soon. And
I think Trump learned the lesson from Iraq and Afghanistan and everything. We're not in there to nation build.
No,
it's
going to be up to the people.
You need to unfuck your own country. We'll give you the opportunity, but you need to do the work and unfuck it.
It's gonna be up to the people of Iran, and hopefully
that was the problem.
But you've got to clear it, because there's the police force that's there needs to be destroyed. Okay. Yeah. There's another organization, I forget what they're called, but it's the organization that went around killing women for not having their hijabs on correctly and stuff like that. That organization needs to be completely destroyed. But I guarantee you, with the intel that we've shown that we've had right off the beginning, that I think those are probably well on their way to being dismantled. So the people actually have a chance to rise up and take over this country. So
that was the issue there was in Afghanistan, is the administrations that it all went through were, two issues.
Afghanistan, but Afghanistan is a completely different country than Iran. Completely,
absolutely
not educated.
But the thing is, they were dead set on importing Western democracy into Afghanistan, which was a tribal culture. They were not a coherent country.
Correct.
They were a collection of tribes. And when you had that, and then you had military leadership that was, you had officers making their rank and making their OPRs on whatever bullshit they came up with when they came into country, regardless as to the overall goal and what needed to be done. Well, I can get promoted if I go to Afghanistan and stay there for 6 months. And it became a freaking promotion meal for officers. Yeah. And it was, nothing but a sludge for, the guys actually doing the work.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think we're in a very, we're not in the clear yet. We're still in the woods. But this decision took balls to make. We need to get it done. We need to get out of there. And we don't need to be losing any more American lives. Anytime you have a kinetic action like this, that is the risk. And
I think Trump is he with the action that was performed in Venezuela. He seems to be all about the surgical, precise action, and we're done.
We obviously had people in Venezuela that were ready to work with us, because that's already in place right now. You know what I mean? So this also is a message to these cartels. This is a message to these cartels that you are small, tiny potatoes to this. And if we can do this here, imagine what we can do to you overnight. So
I understand that at this point it hasn't been released yet, but I really think it would go a long ways towards satisfying the public if the administration were to come out and say, this is what we've done, this is what we're going to do, and this is our exit criteria. We've got it planned A to Z. We're doing this, we're done, and we're coming home. Because Afghanistan, like you know as well as I do, it turned into everything from building fucking roads to guarding poppy fields. And it's like, no,
we ain't doing any of that. We ain't doing any. I promise you.
We need a very limited, a very focused, success criteria and exit strategy.
To me, I think I think the goal here, I think, is to get rid of any remnants of this regime and all of their PowerPoints that they have over there, and to allow, they've obviously got people on the inside that they think might be able to step up, because I keep on hearing the Kurds being thrown around. And you know, you've heard me talk about Kurds. My experience with them, it's the only people you could work with in Iraq. They were the only people you could work with. The Iranians are different. The Iranians do have a pretty educated population that obviously is pretty moderate too. And there's no way that we did this without having an idea of somebody that we could work with, just like we've done in Venezuela. But it's still going to be a roll of the dice, because you've got a lot of radicals over there regardless. And you really need to empower the people to stand up and have a fighting chance to be able to deal with the radicals that are going to be over there.
You've got a lot of the radicals that have been given a measure of power due to the administration that was just removed, and they're going to fight to hold on to that. And that's what has to be removed and taken away, and allowed the people allowed the space to, you know, govern themselves.
And I would imagine you're going to have to arm the populace, the good guys over there, so they have a chance against the radicals who are already armed. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's going to have to happen. And this is where NATO should come in, or the UN should come in. You know what I mean? This shouldn't be just on the United States. So I think maybe there was a reason, you know, that the German chancellor was over here today with Trump, and he had a pretty positive tone, to be honest. So maybe there's a little bit of hope of Trump getting NATO whipped into shape, with the exception of a couple shitbags like Spain and the UK right now.
They need to come out and just be like, look, if you're be like in any other club in which you pay membership, if your dues are not caught up with arrears by X date,
you're out.
Your swipe card is no longer going to work. You're going to walk up to the UN building in New York City. You're going to swipe your card, and it's going to say, "Fuck off." Yeah. You know, it's like you either contribute what your country obligated itself to do, or you don't get the benefits.
Yeah, if they don't contribute to this, if they don't contribute to, you know, making sure that this is a success and the people of Iran having a legitimate shot of standing up their own government and all of that. So let me see. Somebody just asked us a question here that I'm looking at. Do you guys keep in touch with your columns in the event that radical left becomes completely unhinged? With our columns.
Well, I've got my people. I'm in a very rural area, and I'm not really worried about the leftists becoming unhinged here, because they would be that issue would be resolved pretty quickly where I'm located. There's more good old boys than there are others.
Yeah,
crews, not columns.
Crews, yeah. So, I know who this is. So, yeah, of course we're keeping it, and it's not just I think we always need to talk to our neighbors, the people that are the people that we know we can work with. Okay, you know that you're going to. You know that you're going to have people that you're like, that guy right there, there's no way. But you know, there's some people that you could talk to and say, hey, if something happens, let's work together and come up with a plan here. We've said that from the very beginning. Everybody should be doing that. and coming up with like simple things. How are we going to secure the area? How are we going to keep track of things? How are we going to resupply? How are we going to communicate? All of these types of things that I think maybe you guys should go over. You know, how are we going to defend each other, right? How are we going to have early warning? Yeah, things like this. And
because if there's one thing that Minneapolis has taught us is that the left is very organized. They are very tech savvy, and they have moles in everything. They were having people that were working at the car rental counters sending tag numbers and tag information to other people. They had databases tracking who had what vehicles, and that, I mean, they were very, I mean, they had a setup where people were literally coming on shift to do things, and were given guidance and given direction of go here. We've got reports here. Go. I mean, it was astounding how organized and how effective it was actually in the way that they were doing things behind the scenes. And the one thing I keep going back to is, who is funding this? People aren't doing this. I'm sure some people are doing it because they're true believers or whatever, but some of this takes money to do and to set up and to establish and maintain. Who is doing that? Where's that coming from? Exactly. Why can we can identify the shape of a grandma's inner ear to chase her down and kick her door in fucking Alaska because of January 6th.
Yeah.
But we can't figure out who's funding the pallets of bricks that are being dropped off and the box trucks full of gas masks that are being dropped off at these riots. We can't figure that out?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We can't figure it out because we don't want, or it's being done intentionally by whomever.
You know, the thing that you just said there too, it's using your brain to understand that things are not as they always just seem. Okay. This whole deal has so much, this is how we started this whole thing, has so much to do with China. And we're not talking about it, and they're intentionally not talking about it. And many times when you hear Russia, it's to deflect from China. China is the true threat to the United States. Period. Amen. Okay. Yeah. The second largest threat to the United States was Iran. Iran is no more. They're done. Okay. So right now, what we've done is we've cut off the oil supply to China. That means if China's going to get oil, they probably have to go through us or the Russians. That's what they're going to have to do. And it's a masterstroke, because I think this may have stopped the invasion. It may not have, but may have stopped the invasion of Taiwan. Okay, which would be a disaster all the way around. It would be an absolute disaster, especially with all the semiconductors and everything that are being made over there. And I know we're trying to stand up plants and everything here and other places in the Western world, but right now, the vast majority of those things come through Taiwan. Okay, so we had a third subject we were going to talk about tonight, but we've run out of time, and it deserves more time. And it's the Islam and dogs, right? And there was a fatwa put out recently in the Western world, trying to force these Western governments, especially the ones that have been taken over in Europe, to start imposing rules to take dogs away from people. So we're going to get into that discussion next week. We're going to carry that over because it's an important one. And I think people don't know that this is even a thing out there, that Muslims hate dogs. And we're going to get into some of the potential history. Okay, this isn't us saying it. We're going to be reading some stuff, and we're going to talk about maybe what's behind all of this. But we really, nobody. Are there good Muslim people out there? Absolutely. And you don't want to throw good Muslims under the bus with all of this. Okay. But there's a radical element of Islam, and it's quite large. And we better be careful, because you're seeing an absolute takeover of Europe, and they want to take over us here too. This is part of what they do. This is what they're told to do in their religion, and we're going to discuss it. We're going to discuss this aspect with dogs. And
well, Matt, I want to bring up something real quick. Well, two things. One, I learned a long time ago, anybody that doesn't like dogs, there's something wrong about them, and I don't want to be there.
Yeah, I said that almost from the very beginning. Do not trust anybody that doesn't like dogs. Period.
The second
it sounds like we're joking, but I'm really not. So go ahead.
The second thing is, you're talking about the good Muslims and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
I just looked up. As of 2025, there are approximately 2 billion Muslims in the world, making up about 25 to 26% of the global population. All right. If there are 2 billion Muslims in the world, and you have 1% of 1% that are militant jihad, Aloha snack bar Muslims, that is a shit ton of people that have ill intent and believe the very radical views of the religion, and that's a problem.
Yes, it's a problem. It's a problem. So when you hear us talking about Islam on here, we're talking about radical Islam. And like I said, there's some good guys you see on TV like Zuhdi Jasser. And these are Muslims, and I've got a friend to this day who was an interpreter of mine. He's an American citizen from Morocco, and he's Muslim. He's a good guy. I mean, it's not. We don't want to make it look like everybody is that way, but there is a large radical element that is a problem. And
just for simple math, Matt, to make this sink in, 1% of 1 billion is 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
So that's you're looking at, if 1% of the 2 billion people are extremists, that's 20 million people.
Yeah.
That is not insubstantial. That is not. There are states that don't have that much population.
Well, here's a solution to this. If somebody wants to immigrate to your country, okay, whether it's the United States, whether it's Great Britain, whether it's Germany, whether it's Italy, any of these countries, they want to come there because they want a different life. So if they come to your country, they better assimilate to your country and become the American, the Brit, the Italian, or any of it. If they don't, they should not be given citizenship, period, amen, and they should be sent home. You don't go to a country to emigrate there, escaping something else to change that country to what you came from. I mean, that's asinine. So what would solve the problem is, if somebody wanted to come to your country, they must come to your country to assimilate and become what you are, like Americans, fellow Americans. And you know what? People love to throw racism around and this and that and the other thing. I will tell you that 99% of all Americans have no problem with somebody coming from anywhere in the world to our country, provided they want to be American, right? If they want to be American and they hold up their end of the bargain, they don't leech off our system, they come here and become a productive member, right? They will be welcomed with open arms. 99% of all people in the country will accept them. And I'm not going out on a limb saying that. But if you want to come to the country, go ahead, Stu.
I was like, let me ask you a question. All right. So we did the math of 1% of the Muslim population is 20 million.
Mm-hmm.
How many states, just for shits and giggles, how many states do you think have a population greater than 20 million?
Well, very, 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 very few, because Minnesota has a population of 5 million, and that is not a sparsely populated state. So when you talk about states like Wyoming or Montana, they have far less population than that. So yeah, so there's 4 states that have a population of over 20 million people. So I'm going to guess those states.
Basically, if you were to say, it would be the entire population of New York, to include New York City. New York has a population of 20 million, the state. So that would be every individual in the state of New York, just for scale and scope. Every individual in the state of New York having radical jihad, radical Islamic beliefs. And that's saying 1% of the population.
Yeah. Yeah. I
mean, just as a scope, a way to put a
under the Biden administration, over 20 million came in. Over 20 million illegals came in. Just think what that does to a country. Just think of Germany. Germany, I think, has a population of what, 65 million? 65 to 80 million. I could be, but how many they let in? You know, it's insane.
Great Britain too, same thing.
It's nuts. It's nuts. So, all right. Well, we've gone past our time. And this show was kind of flipped on its head a little bit, but I thought Stu might show up, and it worked out. It worked out well. We didn't get to the dog thing. We're going to get to that next week. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank everybody for taking part. We have some new people joining in the conversation, which I welcome you. Thank you for joining. We like to get the audience involved with the show, for sure, because we learn from you guys. You guys are full of information. We don't have a big show here, but the people that tend to follow this show are clued into what's going on. So this is why we like getting you guys involved. I want to thank you guys for being patriots more than anything. I do want to mention tonight that the primaries are going on in the state of Texas. So we want to make sure we want to wish Gregorio, who was on this show a couple weeks ago, good luck tonight. And hopefully here soon we'll have some more people running for Congress on as well. We might get a senator as well. We'll see. But it seemed like you guys enjoyed that. We'll get more on.
Freedom just posted that Crenshaw was out.
Did Crenshaw lose to his primary challenger? That is fantastic. That is fantastic news.
Well, he was out, but who got the seat?
Well, it's another Republican. So remember, Orange Juice can up against Dan Crenshaw. Good news, right? I don't give a shit if it's an Orange Juice can.
It wasn't a Democratic Orange Juice can.
No. It's a primary tonight. So he was beat by another Republican.
Okay. Good.
So does Freedom know what's going on with Gregorio's race? That's 30. That's District 30.
I'm not sure. See, we'll give him a minute, see if he pops in with something.
Yeah. Well, that is fantastic news. That is some of the best news in that. These rhinos are more dangerous than Democrats. They absolutely are. Tom Tillis is the perfect example. Yeah. Dan Crenshaw is another example. This guy, you know who else has turned out to be a huge disappointment, who I used to like a lot?
Freedom said Gregorio was third last time he looked.
Well, maybe something might pull out there. I don't know. Did he say how much of the vote was in?
No, just last time he looked, he was third in whatever the lineup was.
All right. Well, thank you for the update, Freedom. Crenshaw being out is nothing but good news. So thank goodness. Well, guys, thank you for being a patriot. Thank you for joining us. Live in freedom every day. Stu, do you have anything you want to say before we go?
No, sir. I'm good. it was made it in late, had some prior commitments, but got Matt situated to where he was able to get everything up and running and on
It was
time
like
with
the old
bells
days
on.
when I'm doing the show by myself, Stu, and it's just like a rambling, incoherent mess until I hopefully bring it together at the end and tie everything together.
Well, I apologize for subjecting you guys to about 18 minutes of that before I was able to get home and get online.
All right, guys. Thank you again.
We appreciate everyone. Thank you again for joining. We love it. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Doug, for showing up. And join us again next week. See you guys then.